For those who believe that those with HIV are doomed, I want to reassure you. I used to think that too, but I'm here to share my journey with you. I was dating a wonderful man and I got sick. He suggested I get an AIDS exam, and I was hesitant at first. But I decided to take the plunge, and after a long cough I went. The doctor looked at me and said, "You have HIV." Music, imagine going out with someone. For those who believe that those with HIV are doomed, I'm here to tell you that this isn't the case. I used to think the same, but I dated a wonderful boy and got sick. That's when I learned the importance of getting an AIDS exam. A guy told me to get one, and I finally did. I had a long cough and the doctor told me how long I'd know I had HIV. Imagine going out with a friend and a while later, they call you and say, "Hey, you should get an AIDS exam." You'd think this happened to our friend Rain, and the most surprising part wasn't even the day she went to get the actual exam. What happened after she received the diagnosis was even more shocking. Music. Rain, how old are you? I'm 46 years old. You've had HIV for 1996, so that's 24 years, right? I don't know. Face, and a while later a friend of his calls you and says, "I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to take an AIDS examination." You would think this happened to our friend Rain. And the most surprising thing was not even the day that she went to do the actual exam. What happened after she received the diagnosis was even more surprising. Music. Rain, how old are you? 46 years. 46 years. You live with HIV. How long? Since 1996. So it's 24 years, right? I don't know. I'm human. 2016, number 27. 27 years. My God, we are already in 2023. It will be 27 years old, so it is a life almost my age. So how did this start? Like, how did HIV come into your life? So look, I remember. I liked a little club that had nearby from my house. We always went there. I understood, and then I went to live farther, but I made friends with some girls and I took rewind to 2016 issue 27. It's been 27 years since my God was born. Can you believe it's already been 27 years? That means he's almost my age. So, how did this journey of life begin? How did HIV enter your life? I remember being drawn to a little girl who lived nearby. We used to go there often, and I made friends with some girls who took me to Foro. One day, at the end of the Foro, we were almost going, although I already had one of my friends who was very beautiful. We saw a boy passing on the other side of the street. He was wearing a Corinthians uniform. The boy was very handsome. Applause. I'll remember and comment here below. Now I forgot his name, but he was identical. He was very cute, and he looked like that actor who is the face. These girls were also into Foro, and one day, we were almost an item. I already had one of my friends who was very beautiful, and we saw a boy on the other side of the street. He was wearing a Corinthians uniform. I'll never forget that boy. He was very cute, and he looked like the actor who played the Tooth Fairy. So that's exactly how he looked. He was very handsome, and I looked for him. He liked my friend, and he came to us. Then he ended up giving my friend a kiss. Time passed, and I always went there alone. On that day, he stayed with her. When she was there, it was more. When she wasn't, he came to ask me. She was a very good girl from Lip. I understood, so I started talking to Key, and I took a boy. Then I got it. I was looking for someone right away, and I took a boy. We started dating, and after 3 weeks, we met on a Friday. I remember April 19th, 1996, when we met. We ate something out, and then we ended up stopping at the motel 3 weeks after we started dating. So you stayed 3 weeks. Kiss on him, and I started talking to a boy here, and then I got it. I was looking for a boy, and then I found one. We started dating, and after 3 weeks, we marked the meeting. It was a Friday in April 1996. We met at a restaurant, and then we ended up stopping at a motel 3 weeks after we started dating. So you stayed there for 3 weeks. Kiss on him, and the 3rd week, this was understood. For those who believe that those who have HIV are prenatally infected because in the past it was thought so, I was dating a beautiful boy who was very cute. Now that the part that was not tragic would be comical, I understood. The bottle of poison was very small, but it was very small even though it was sickly. That's why I often say that I got it, not passed for me. I took a rut. Do not. It's been 3 weeks since this all started. Back then, I thought that if you had HIV, it was because you had taken the Prenutic. I was dating this cute boy, and it was a very funny situation. Now I understand the part that wasn't tragic would be comical. I understood that the bottle of poison was very small, but it was very small even though it was sickly. That's why I often say that I got it, not passed for me. I took the rut, and he was not always trying to play the blame game, but it was because you didn't have anything. You didn't know what was going on at that time. There was little talk of this zero campaign. You understood what Kazusa meant by gay rights. You thought it was just gay rights, and I had almost zero understanding. We only understood death, caught you and died. It finished everything inside you. This is what happens. I didn't like it then. Then I finished with him just before when we were at a friend's place and I was leaving when he told me a story. He said, "If you're sure you're well, there's nothing wrong." Why? My father just died. I have to take care of my mother. Are you sure you're well? He insisted that I was well, and it was a lot for us. I finished with him a week later because I didn't like what I saw, and I never did. He kept calling me every day at work. As I was on my way out, he shared a story with me. He said, "If you're certain, there's nothing wrong. You don't have any diseases, and my father just passed away. I have to take care of my mother. Are you sure you don't have any?" He kept insisting on this. It was a lot for us. A week later, I finished with him because I didn't like what I saw. I never liked boys. Then he started calling me every afternoon at work. Every day he asked about the same thing. He wanted to know why I ended up with him. He asked, "Why did you end up with me? You have something because you ended up with me." Time went by. Soon after that, a friend of a friend needed to donate blood to her because she was having surgery. I decided to donate. It was me and this friend who understood why I was donating blood to this colleague. During the afternoon, every day he kept on talking about this. "I'm not sure why, but you ended up with me. You had something and that's why you ended up with me." Then time went by. It was in April, 2 months later. A friend of a friend needed to donate blood to someone because she was having surgery. I decided to go, and it was me and my friend. We understood that I was donating blood to my colleague. But I was your friend, not the doctor. My friend arrived at her house and mine didn't arrive. I was still calm and unaware. I was worried that it had been stolen. I stopped answering the phone. One day, he sent a cousin of his to call me. This cousin said, "A so-and-so told you that you have to take an art exam." Then he said it was boring. I totally get where you're coming from. I was just trying to help. But it looks like things got a little mixed up. My friend brought the blood donation form over to your place, but it didn't make it there. I was trying to be patient, but it seemed like it got misplaced somehow. Then, the day he sent his cousin to give you a call, he said something like, "So-and-so told you that you need to take an art exam." I got it. He sent you to take an AIDS exam, and then I started thinking about how everything was a coincidence. I understood everything because it was a coincidence. You had already taken a blood test, and then he called you. I wasn't even calling him paranoid, but today I'm pretty sure it was this boy who figured it out. I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." I called and they said there was a coagulation problem in your blood. I totally get it. He told you to get an AIDS test, and then the business came to mind. I understood everything because it was a coincidence. You had actually taken a blood test, and he called you in this period. It was a total coincidence. I wasn't even paranoid, so today I'm sure it was this. This boy understands, and then I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." I called there, and they said there was a coagulation problem in your blood. Then you have to come here and take a new exam. I went to a new exam and waited 40 days because at that time it was like this. Everything has morals, and when I called there to ask if it was ready, I said, "But you have to come to get to the point." I went with my hand in these 40 days. You just wondered about it 24 hours a day. Did you understand? And I don't know if you understand. You have to come back and take another exam. I had to wait 40 days because of the situation. Everything has morals, and when I called to ask about the status, I said, "I have to come back to the point." I spent 40 days with my hand in these. You just wondered about it 24/7. Did you understand? But so both of the two had a bond with the same person. I understood. She had also gone to bed with this guy at the same time. Then you wondered if hers gave negative, mine will also give because we have the same person. Laughs, well, then I did what happens when I got there. I usually say that I will write a book, and the book until the name is Life After Life because I already had to die too much to live. But both of them had a relationship with the same person. Ah, I understood she had also gone to bed with this guy. At the same time, you shared a man. Then you wondered if hers gave negative and mine would also give because we have the same person. Laughs. Well, then I did what happens when I got there. I usually say that I will write a book, and the book until the name is Life After Life because I already died a lot. You know, I have done several times. And that was one of them when I arrived. The doctor called me and she asked me why I went to donate blood. I told her, no, I went to donate blood because a colleague of mine needed to give blood. But it works. I went right and she looked at my exams. Everything is okay. Only you are HIV positive. And I said, for her, but what is this, doctor? I had no idea what HIV was. You spoke there saying that I've had some pretty intense experiences with death. In fact, I've had a few of them. One of those times was when I arrived at the doctor's office. She called me over and asked why I went to donate blood. I told her that I went to donate blood because a colleague of mine needed to give blood. She looked at my exams and said everything was okay. She said I was HIV positive, but I had no idea what HIV was. She explained that it's a virus that can transform into arts and such. At that moment, I forgot everything and just remembered my friend's friend. I told her about my friend and she told her friend. She's the same person, but hers was negative. What may have happened there? She may have contaminated it, but it's been 2 months. That time, right? It wasn't HIV. She said she had the virus that can transform into art and such. She explained to me, and at that moment I forgot myself and just remembered my friend's friend. I told my friend and she told the same person, but hers was negative. What may have happened there? It's possible that she contaminated me, but it's been 2 months. I gave her the name of the blood bank. I stayed there trying to remember the surname, and my friend remembered it. I remembered that I had come back like that. I looked at him and said, I can cry. I was born again. I died in that room in that office, and there I was born again. Without a drop of judgment, because my thinking was, from today, I will only live intensely and die on land. It's simple too. I asked her for her blood, and she was kind enough to get it from the blood bank. While I was there, I remembered her last name. Then I remembered that I had come back like that. I looked at him and said, I can cry. I was born again. I died in that room in that office, and there I was born again. I didn't think twice because I was determined to live intensely and die on land. It's simple to understand. Then I went there to take an exam I had to do at HC. I didn't come back there. In 1996, I just ran away. And when I got to the only person I could vent to, I was at the moment. I divided with this friend. When I told that person, he came into despair because at that time, everything was just prejudice. Then, he was by my side, but I gave and abandoned. I understood, and then I went there to take an exam. I didn't come back to HC. In 1996, I just ran away. And when I got to the only person I could vent to, I was at the moment. I divided with this friend who was there at the time. When I told that person, he came into despair because at that time, everything was just prejudice. And then he was by my side, but I gave him an abandoned feeling, music, and then he was running to take an exam. Particularly at that time, it took a long time, 30 days. That part is also very beautiful. When it was 30 days, he went to get the result. He called me. I went to him, and I remember very well to this day. He did so. He put the result on the table. He looked at me and said, so I was sitting. He said, get up. I got up. Music. And then he was running to take an exam. That part took a long time, 30 days. When the results came, he called me. I went to him, and I remember very well to this day how he put the results on the table, looked at me and said, so I was sitting. I said, get up. He got up. He said, hug me. After 30 days without a hug, without anyone knowing, he said, hug me. He hugged me so strongly that I started to cry. He said, you forgive me, right? Because I abandoned you. I don't. I could have abandoned you at that moment. You stayed alone. You forgive me, right? I said, of course I forgive. I understood that day. Today we weren't with us. We stayed together for 15 years because I didn't want to know anymore, but he, after 30 days had passed, he asked me to hug him. It was a private moment, just the two of us, and he wanted to apologize for not saying I love you sooner. He hugged me so tightly that it made me start to cry. He asked, why did you leave me? I told him, I didn't leave you. I could have left you, but I didn't. You stayed by yourself. I forgive you. He understood that day. Today we've been together for 15 years. I didn't want to talk about it anymore, but he didn't. He had HIV and I didn't. He stayed with me as a friend, a support system, and a partner in everything I do in life and in bed. Thankfully, he understood that this was the first time I had asked for support. From 19 to 23 years, I kept it to myself. I didn't tell anyone in my family. I had already been living alone since I was 15. He said, I've known since 15. He has HIV and I've had it for years. He's been by my side throughout it all from the very beginning. He's been my rock, my support system, and my partner in everything I do, including in the bedroom. Thankfully, he understood that this was the first time I'd ever opened up to anyone about my health. I kept it to myself from the ages of 19 to 23, and I didn't tell my family. I'd been living alone since I was 15, and he said he'd known. Years later, I finally decided to open up to my sisters. I remember telling them on a walk on the beach. We were taking a shower after a swim in the ocean, like we were taking a bath together. I told them and they were so supportive. But then they didn't understand why I was so worried about it. For me, it was something that had died. For them, it was just a matter of not wanting to die after. I spent years living alone and not taking care of myself. I remember not 2 years later, I was still living alone. I told my sisters, let's go on a walk on the beach. We were taking a shower after the sea. We were taking a bath in the communal bathroom. The three of us were taking a shower next to my two older sisters. I told them, poor things, right at the time they supported me. Then they got no ground because for me it was something that died. In terms of her, not my sister, she died after. I learned, but my parents only learned when I stayed sick because I didn't do the treatment right. I ran away from treatment for 4 years and then I got sick. There, I got all the diseases: scabies, genital herpes, genital warts. I lost 52 kilograms to 46 kilograms. And at the end of all this, I still got pneumocystosis, which is a type of pneumonia that only affects people who are completely weakened, like people who were treated for cancer. I learned a lot, but my parents only learned when I was sick. They didn't do the treatment right. I ran away from treatment for 4 years and then I got sick. I got all kinds of diseases including scabies, genital herpes, and more. I lost a lot of weight, from 52 to 46 kilograms. But in the end, I still got pneumocystitis, which is a type of pneumonia that only weakens people. People with cancer and completely weakened. You weren't treating yourself over those 4 years. You were living a normal life intensely. I only took care of others because when I got a girlfriend, I used condoms with her and wouldn't have sex without one. We didn't leave. It was me because I thought I was protecting her, but I didn't take care of my health. You didn't take care of yourself, but I imagine that you should have all this thought. I'm worried about you. You didn't take care of yourself these past 4 years, and now you're not taking care of anyone. I know you're going to die, but you're not going to take anyone with you. I just said that in my dreams because I thought I was going to die. I stopped dreaming because I thought I was crazy to be a mother. I wanted to be a mother at 18, but I still hadn't become pregnant. I lost the dream of being a mother. Then I was sick and I almost died on my birthday. I've been thinking about these 4 years and I'm still wondering if I'm going to die without taking anyone with me. I used to dream about it, but then I stopped because I thought I was going to die. I was crazy to want to be a mother at 18, and then at 19, I still hadn't become pregnant. I lost the dream of being a mother and then I was sick. I almost died on my birthday. Things in your body are strange, even when nothing is wrong. In 1996, I had a strange itching and then a long cough. I saw that it was scabies. Then, when I started to get skinny and sick, I found out I had herpes and genital sepinho. At that time, who knew about this secret? My other sister also knew, and I told her later in 1999. Things in your body can be strange. You might feel like you have nothing, but you're actually missing oxygen. In 1996, I started to feel itchy, and then I got a long cough. I thought it was scabies, but then I got sick and skinny. I had herpes and genital sepinho. I told my other sister, and she told her sister, who also got sick. I think 3 or 4 people knew you and you had to seek help. I didn't have my network support yet. I spent a month with pneumonia at home, and I didn't know it was pneumonia. I was coughing and short of breath, thinking I had asthma. One day I didn't give it anymore. I told her. My heart sister too. I think it was about 3 or 4 people who knew you who got sick. You had to seek help when I didn't already have my network support. That's it when I got sick. I spent a month with pneumonia at home without knowing that it was pneumonia. I went to the doctor but nothing came of it. I was there coughing with shortness of breath, thinking that I was with asthma. One day I didn't give myself any more. I said you don't have to go to the doctor. I arrived at the doctor's office and went to take an exam of the lungs. When the boy lifted the curtain, he said, "Ours, you know what you have there." I said, "No there." He spoke, "So take it here to the doctor fast." When I arrived at the doctor's office, he spoke, "Girl, you have pneumonia in both. Look this here, you see this here. Here is everything missing oxygen." Then I said, "And you are crazy. Grazie for you will not." I told him I didn't need to go to the doctor. When I got there, the doctor took my temperature and said, "You have pneumonia in both lungs. You're not getting enough oxygen." I said, "No way. You're crazy." After that, I went straight home. I didn't even take an Uber. When I got to Hospital das Clínicas, there was a long line. A friend met me there and she said, "You're pale. You're going inside and you'll go crazy when you see him on the stretcher." I passed out. I'm not crazy and I'm not going to be. I went straight to the hospital in a taxi. When I got there, there was a long line, so I went with a friend. She looked for me and said, "Faint? Because I'm going inside and I will bring Brand. You will go crazy when he arrives with the stretcher on the floor." Then I passed out. When I came to, the doctor looked at me and said, "I'm so happy you got here. How long have you had HIV?" I said, "For years, because you didn't treat yourself." He said, "What treatment would be better for you? Tell me. If you really think, then I will explain. This is how it will work. First you will get sick and then you will be very..." When I went to the doctor, he looked at me and said, "How long have you had HIV?" I said, "For years, because you didn't treat yourself." He said, "I'll find the best treatment for you." I said, "What do you mean? Tell me how it will work." He said, "First you will get sick and lose weight. You will be hospitalized and everyone will pity and disgust you because you will be skin and bone. You will suffer a lot on the hospital bed. Then you will die. Do you want to die? Or do you want to live?" I said, "I think it's better to fight for life. It's easier." She said, "Let's start the treatment. We will hospitalize you." I spent 2 days hospitalized. I'm sorry to say that you'll lose weight and be hospitalized. You'll be bedridden. And everyone will pity and disgust you because you'll be covered in wounds. You'll suffer a lot on the hospital bed and then you'll die." I said, "I think it's better to fight for life, it's easier." She spoke, "So let's go. Start the treatment. We'll hospitalize you." Then I spent 2 days hospitalized in the hospital. There's overcrowding, so they'll send you to receive treatment and take your medicines at home, but you'll live alone, so there was no way to treat me at home. On the first day, I already felt worse. My same colleague got me, put me in the taxi, went back to the hospital, and at the hospital it was before midnight, and took me 2 days later to the Hospital das Clínicas from Novo. This day was December 15th, right at the time of my birthday. I had a hard time finding the right treatment and medicines for my condition. I was living alone, so there was no one to take care of me at home. By the first day, my health had already taken a turn for the worse. My colleague helped me get to the hospital and I was admitted. It was before midnight on December 15th, my birthday. I had always believed that people died 2 months before or after their birthday, as my colleague had told me. I knew how far I could go, but I was hoping for a different outcome. I was planning to travel to Atabeya on December 22nd. I spoke with the doctor who gave me medicine for my condition. However, I had to leave on Friday because I had to go to the hospital. I was turning 19 and I had this belief that people usually died 2 months before or 2 months after their birthday. I had this idea that Allan Kardec said and I was really into it. I knew exactly what I wanted and I was excited, but I had this feeling that December 16th was really important. I was planning to travel to Atabeya on December 22nd and I told the doctor. He gave me all these medicines because I had to leave on Friday. I didn't have much time left. I ate everything in front of me, even though I wasn't really feeling it. The young lady didn't want to eat either. After 5 days, I left the hospital and was able to treat myself at home. I stayed in Atabeya for 10 days and now I'm starting my treatment. I'm so excited to start living my dream of being a mother. I found out in 2002 that this dream was possible. I had a hard time traveling, but I'm doing well now. I ate everything in front of me when I was young and I didn't want to eat. After 5 days, I left the hospital and treated myself at home. I stayed in Atabaya for 10 days. Since then, I've been following my treatment plan. In 2002, I found out that I couldn't be a mother. I started treatment at an NGO that does group therapy. There I found out that I could be a mother and that my son was going to be born. I did my own research and found out everything. If I tell you that my baby was negative at 9 months, you'll believe me. But I was in a really dark place, thinking that I'd never be a mom. But then I found out that I could still have a baby. I started doing group therapy at Give, a really wonderful NGO. I learned so much, and I'm so grateful for that experience. If I had known back then that my baby was going to be negative, I would have done everything in my power to get pregnant. I'm so thankful that I had that information back in 2003, even though it might not have been the same as what we have today. Back then in 2002 and 2003, a lot of people thought that having a child would pass to the son or the husband. I'm so glad that nowadays, people understand that I'm taking medicine and getting treatment. I wish I had known that when your daughter got pregnant. Of course, this was a time when we didn't have all the information we have today. We had some of it back in 2003, and we had even more in 2002 and 2003. At that time, the world thought that, so it took some time to change. Today, people know that I take medicine for my condition. At that time, I didn't know that. Then your daughter got pregnant and you were there for her. Your daughter was born with the virus, but it's not a virus. It's like teaching me that the baby is born with mine. The baby has no antibodies when it's born. It makes its own antibodies after birth. It kills the virus and my antibodies. Also, your daughter didn't contract HIV. My concept for a long time was that it was inside and my life out. I don't use HIV as a shield. Your daughter was born with viruses, but it's not a virus. It's like teaching me. So, the baby is born with my antibodies. When a baby is born with antibodies, it makes its own body. It makes its own antibodies which kill the viruses. Also, your daughter did not contract HIV. My concept for a long time has been this, inside and my life out. I don't use HIV as a shield or as a weapon. I don't put it as a priority in my life because a diabetic person puts diabetes first, or a person with lupus puts the disease or the treatment in front and continues her normal life. That's what I live. I see HIV today, not only in me, but several people see it as a disease that has no cure. It's inside her and she has no treatment. So I respect her and she respects me and her parents are there. I've learned that when someone is sick, it's natural to want to take care of them. My mom, for example, was so worried about me when I was sick in 2000 that she went to visit me, even though I didn't ask her to. She was just being a loving sister. My other sister spoke to my mom, and the lady didn't go to the hospital. God was showing me what it means to have no life. My mother arrived and went to visit me, and she bought a soap opera magazine. She asked, "How do you lose 46 pounds with a business?" You can't. They learned I was flying in their face, literally, because when I was sick there in 2000, they went to visit me. No one asked what I had. My sisters were simple and humble. They spoke to my mom, and the lady doesn't go there at the hospital. She calmly said, "God is showing me what it is for no life." My mother arrived and went to visit me. She bought a soap opera magazine. How do you 46 pounds with a business? You can't. My mother sat on the floor next to my bed. Music, my father at this time, he took medicine there because he had epilepsy, and he was very bad. He knew well. Then I left the hospital after my trip. I went there, and he took it like this. I have it happen like this, so baked is that you didn't realize you asked the doctor or anything. My mother, I knew you wouldn't go really. And that was my father who improved later. I think that, in their simple way, your mother showed that she had faith in your life. It took a bit of a reality check, and he improved a few more years later. You never talked to the Corinthian, though. Later, in that same furrow, he understood, and then I was deep down. He came to me and said, "You're fine." I looked at him and said, "I'm fine, but not thanks to you, right?" My father's health improved over time, and I think that, in their own way, my mother showed that she was confident in your life. It took a while, but he improved a few more years later. Then one day you never talked to him again. Later in that same furrow you understood, and he came to me. He looked at me and said, "You're fine." I looked at him and said, "I'm fine, but not thanks to you. I don't want to talk to you. You know what happened there." I left and never came back. I never looked in his face again. I never saw him. I never saw you. I didn't go fight with him. I didn't go anywhere. I just got hateful. And then I just was this moment. I said for him, "I'm fine, not thanks to you, but if it were for you." And today I don't know how many years have passed. You're 20 years old and you're fine. I'm not sure if I can talk to you right now. You know what happened there. I left and I never came back. I never looked in his face again. I never saw him. I never saw you. I thought I didn't go fight with him. I didn't go. Nothing. I just got hateful. Then I thought, for him I'm fine. Not thanks to you, but if it were for you. And today I don't know how many years you are. You're 20 years old. You took medicine and now you sometimes get a consultation. I am undetectable, so I don't count. I understood that already. I had 4 husbands later and they all knew. They all knew. Today they all accepted. Not none of them. This is all mine. All mine were whenever you told you had no cricket. You believe they all accepted in a good way, even the girlfriends between a marriage and another, because they were not so. Follows, right? Had a lot of time alone. Also, and I'm so grateful to be undetectable after a year of treatment and consultation. I'm thankful that I've been in touch with my healthcare provider, and I'm grateful that they've been understanding. I've had 4 partners since then, and they've all been aware of my status. They've all accepted me, and none of them has ever had a negative reaction. You told me you had no cricket, but you told me you accepted everyone. Even the girlfriends between marriages were accepting, even though they weren't. I had a lot of time to myself and I dated boyfriends too. They didn't care, and now I want to warn men, women, and everyone. Take care, take precautions, and be careful because HIV and HPV can be transmitted to anyone up to 10 years of age. The most common time for infection is between 10 and 15 years of age, and it can incubate in the organism for up to 15 years without manifesting. Now, the condom is something I'm comfortable with. I don't know the person, but we're already dating. I'd like to share a few thoughts on dating and the potential risks involved. It's important to be aware that HIV and other STDs can be transmitted even after you've started dating someone. For me, this was a valuable lesson. I've learned to be very careful and to trust in God. I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to carry this burden, and I'm confident that I'll be able to do so until the end. I'm reminded of José de Leal, the former vice president of the Republic, who lived with cancer for many years. I'm not going to let that stop me. 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 I'm not going. I thought I was going to die early, but I was wrong. I was wrong because I spent 10, 20, 21, and 22 years understanding that I was going to die early. I even stopped trying to die. I've found so much value in life, and I've taken care of my health. Today is a ballad, but it doesn't fill my eyes anymore. I say I'm retired because of disability, but my retirement from a relationship that was affecting my effectiveness. I thought I was dying, but I was wrong. I spent 10, 20, 21, 22 years alive, and now I'm just lazy. I've got so much to live for, and I'm taking care of my health. I'm not as interested in ballads anymore. I'm retired due to disability, but I'm also dealing with a relationship issue. I had a hard time in my last relationship and I'm trying to understand. My life is getting better and I hope it keeps improving. I met you when that girl who talked to you about your narcissistic mother was here. I've been watching your videos and I'm so grateful for your story.